That
you
is
know.
so sad.
And so a lot of what I'm teaching is to just kind of understand where your parts are in space. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And also, I was just thinking of examples of when I've been larger and being in situations that many people don't think you should be allowed to take up more space. Like if you're a larger person, it's you're looked at. Like, for example, there's a food co-op where I live that has very narrow aisles. And I can remember walking through these aisles, and you're always like butt kissing people because it's so small. But as a larger person, the judgment, the looks you would get, it's like you're taking up too much space.
That's
and
awful.
Yeah, yeah. So it's, dealing with all of these, they call them microaggressions when you talk about like racial discrimination, but as a person of size, you deal with that all the time as well. Different kinds of microaggressions and major aggressions. I can remember being in a grocery store and someone pulling like ice cream out of my cart, like.
A stranger?
Oh yeah, pulling food out of my cart because, I shouldn't be eating those sorts of things.
Wait, okay, so you were in a grocery store.
Yeah.
A complete stranger went in your cart.
Yes.
Well, can I ask how you responded?
Probably shamefully.
How old were you?
Maybe late 20s, early 30s.
They took the ice cream out of your cart.
Yes.
What did they do with it?
Just took it out of my cart and walked away with it. Yeah.
Okay, that's a first for me.
Oh yeah, no, that happened more than once. This happened more than once. Yeah. Well, lots of things you can't believe people will do.
Well, no, because I'm in a little bit of shock with that. All right, so I'm not so far into everything about heavy. I just started gaining weight over the last maybe 10 years. I was always thin, but my brother was 600 pounds most of his life. So I grew up watching that aimed at my brother. He's now doing great. He's lost 350 pounds, no surgery. He's doing amazing. He struggled forever. He was obese as a baby, and back then they didn't really know about obesity and what to do for children. So it just got out of hand. But I've never had anyone pull anything out of a cart of ours. Like, that's crazy to me.
Oh yeah, the judgment. People don't think that there's anything wrong passing judgment on a stranger about their body and what they put into it. So that's has given me a lot of impetus in doing the work I do. And we talked about last time we were talking about how I say I don't believe there is an obesity crisis.
Okay.
I believe that we have a crisis with our food source.
That's right.
And we have a crisis with objectification of women's bodies. So we need to look at things very differently.
Do you think it's starting to happen? Do you think it will ever completely happen?
I hope so.
Okay.
I hope so. I think so. I mean, what you see now, I've seen huge differences. And here we come with all the puns, right? Huge differences in the fashion industry. Because now there are so many more opportunities and places that women can get plus size clothing. However, it's still not addressing the issue. It's sort of like, well, the clothing industry sees that here's the opportunity to make a lot of money, but the whole feeling
Makes
around
sense.
people of size and the medical profession that's not changed.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, back in the medieval times, the heavier you were,
Meant you were healthier,
you were
right?
healthier and the men wanted you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's crazy. So we should go back to that a little bit, huh? Medieval yoga. Ah.
That must sound, I don't know, that might sound a little torturous. But anyway, so for me, it's interesting. I told you I'm working on a book by the same title. You don't have to be teeny to be a yogini. And I was working.
I cannot wait.
You have to wait a little while. I still got a ways to go. But I was rewriting a chapter on eating and food. And one of the things that I try very hard in educating people and advocating is that just because a person is larger doesn't mean they have an issue with food. They may not.
I agree with that.
Right. So, and also because my class, I want it to be a safe place because it's the only safe place that a larger woman may have to go for her entire week. That's the only place she can go.
That's really
so
sad.
I actually don't talk about food in my classes.
Okay.
So writing about, and I also always feel like I have to be apologetic that I have an eating disorder, because I want to make sure people understand that not all larger size people have an eating disorder. So in reading this whole thing on eating, and you know, we talk about nutrition, and I mean, it's so important. Nutrition is so important. But if you've been dieting and depriving yourself for years, you no longer have a healthy relationship with food. So nutrition doesn't really work if you don't have a healthy relationship with food. And that's been a huge, again, huge process for me. And it still is. It still is. I don't like to say I have an eating disorder so much as that I still have disordered eating at times. But it's a process that I want to share. I share how to look at food in a healthier way in my book. You know, again, I don't talk about it in my class, but I talk about, so we'll talk about eating a little bit, then we'll go into some other stuff. But I talked about how looking at, first you have to relearn how to eat, right? If you've been dieting and depriving for years, you don't know what hunger is. You have to learn the difference between mouth hunger and stomach hunger. This is a huge process. And mental hunger. Oh yes. So I talk about looking at eating as sibilant. I talk about sibilant sounds in linguistics. Those are the sa-sa-sa, the mouth ta-ta-ta sounds. Sibilant eating. Your eating should be satisfying. It should be satiating. It should be sacred. It should be sensual. It should be celebratory. And not worrying about the calories and worrying about all, it's like just having to reprogram what it is to eat healthfully. So that's just, that came up recently right before the show. So I just thought I'd share about that. I want to
touch base on that a little bit, because, you know, everybody out there, I don't care who you are, I don't care what size you are, man, woman, it doesn't matter, child, right? Everybody out there has things that they might struggle with that are their issues. And no matter what the issues are, in order to, you know, I'm not going to say heal your issues, because that's really not what it's about. But in order to maybe for you, you know, what word am I looking for? You know, you're not going to heal your issues, but you're going to keep them, you know, at bay maybe.
Manage.
You have to manage your issues. You have to change your thinking and have a relationship with any of that. It's not just about food. You know, it could be anything, alcohol, drinking, even sex, right? Whatever it is, you have to learn how to manage that, because anything could take over and ruin your life. You know, it's not just about food or being overweight, guys. So everything that Melanie's talking about, you can apply to any issue in your life out there.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so I was thinking about how do we thematically tie the different things I wanted to talk about today with you. And I realized that my different passions, so yoga, music, comedy, a lot of that has to deal with healing.
Okay.
And the yoga, obviously, I think it's apparent how that works. But so how does the comedy
Let's
come
talk
about?
That, yes.
I know you've been wanting to talk about that, but I can't say I can say the F word. I can say fart, right?
Yes.
Okay, that F word I can say.
And you can say effing, the letters.
Effing. Okay. So the comedy just came about within about the last 2 years. You know, just started doing stand up. Well, okay.
Okay.
Fully clothed outside of the shower within the last 2 years, right? And I realized that it was the opportunity for me to just put out there things that I might, under normal circumstances, not be comfortable talking about. And not just so the healing was for me to talk about issues of sexuality, issues of mental health. And by putting it out there in a humorous way and in a self-deprecating way, I was giving myself permission to share all of this and go through this process. But I'm also giving people in the audience permission to say, hey, maybe I can be a little bit braver and talk about this stuff too. So it's been incredibly healing for me. And it's been, I mean, comedy, you know, to get out and do stand up, it's like just you're stripping yourself naked in front of a bunch of strangers. And to be able to do that, anything else in life is really easy. Yeah.
So that's what everybody should do. Go out and do one stand-up
That's
act,
right.
and then the rest follows. That's easy, right?
You know, save a lot of money on therapy, psychotherapy. It's really it's been really helpful, but it's been empowering. I've had I'll have young women come up to me afterwards, especially like when I'm dealing with like LGBT stuff, and come up to me and thank you for saying that. Thank you, and cool. So I feel like, you know, I am helping others while I'm helping myself. And you're talking about
comedy. Hold on, I have a question because I think it was you or Natalie. I think Natalie Levant, who's amazing, right? We love her.
Well, she's my mentor.
She's your mentor, okay? And I think it was her who said, if somebody wants to become a comedian, a stand-up, you have to ask them this question: do you have a great life? And if they say yes, tell them they can't do comedy.
It had to have been Natalie. I didn't say that. Yes. No, Natalie is awesome. She's been on your show, a couple of times now? Yeah, well, because of Natalie, I now know what to expect will happen with my pubic hair as I age.
Is that crazy or what?
Yeah, she's a life coach. Okay. I think she's wonderful, wonderful. So other aspects of comedy. I host a monthly open mic with a nonprofit organization called Working While Playing, and that gives me an opportunity to do a little shtick, you know, here and there while I'm hosting, and I sing as well.
You want to tell everyone where it is?
This monthly open mic is the third Tuesday in Germantown in Philadelphia. It's a nonprofit called Working While Playing. We have a Facebook page dedicated just to that, Working While Playing monthly open mic. And it's for comedy, poetry, and music. And it's just wonderful. We get an amazing range of talent and diversity of creativity. I really enjoy it. I'm also director of community outreach for this organization. So this is part of my community outreach work that I do with them. It's a nonprofit for musicians through membership, giving them the opportunity for affordable recording and rehearsal space.
Wow, that's nice.
What is also very special about this organization is that part of the agreement with membership is that you have to give a certain amount of community service every month to be a part of this organization.
That's cool.
So I strongly recommend people looking at that online, more information about that.
So community service could be anything like visiting nursing homes, all that great stuff, right?
Also playing music for free at an event. It could be for another nonprofit organization and they have an event and musicians will come and play. So it's just a whole diversity of opportunities for community service because musicians are part of the community. And the whole idea is that there's kind of a sort of a complex community activist model of dealing with servant leadership so that you lead through giving service and being part of the community and then encouraging others to support each other and become leaders that way. So it's
nice.
Yeah. It's good.
What else you got?
What else do I have? Oh my goodness.
You have a lot. So music has been very important to me, and it's also been a process of healing for me because I had horrible performance anxiety. I have a degree in music, and for 25 years I didn't sing because I had horrible performance anxiety. So that has been very new. Within the last 4 years, I started just when I was approaching 50, it's like, I'm not going to be afraid anymore. I'm going to try. I find that hard to believe with you because I don't know you that long, but I would never have thought that was your issue.
Oh, I'm a recovering shy person. Yeah. No, I still have some issues.
Are you going to sing anything for us, a cappella, a little something? Because I would love that.
Yeah, I wasn't prepared for that.
Listen, we've had this conversation, Gino, right? People who can sing, and I say, oh, do you want to sing something? Oh, what? Huh? Now, wait. I'm not prepared, but you sing.
I should have asked you to bring the guitar.
You could just sing something. Sing something. What do you sing in the shower? There's no guitars in the shower, and I'm sure you sing in the shower.
Okay, I'll sing
All right, there you go.
Okay, so I'll use this. Let's use this as a little promo for an upcoming little gigcito on February 10th at Melaninies Cafe in Mount Airy. There's going to be a pre-Valentine's celebration of love and friendship. It's being run by Rusty and Jan. They're a couple, musical couple, and another musical couple, Jeanette and Steve Proswag. And they invited me and Tom to do a little mini gigcito. So we're going to be singing a few love songs and
Tom
some poetry.
sings?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he's shaking his head no.
He sings and plays guitar. Yes.
Tom.
But I know I'm not going to get
right.
him up here. But okay, so let me try a little bit
All right.
here.
And don't do the chair like that because we need
Okay.
we need to hear you.
All right, so this is a very, very old song, the Kingston Trio. Scotch and soda, mud in your eye. Baby, do I feel high? Oh me, oh my. Do I feel high? Dry martini, jar of gin. Oh, what a spell you've got me in. Oh my, do I feel high? People don't believe me. They think that I'm just bragging. Oh, that I could feel the way I feel and still be on the wagon. Oh, all I need is one of your sweet smiles, sunshine of your eyes. Oh me, oh my. Do I feel higher than a kite can fly? Give me lovin', 'cause I feel so high.
Okay. Okay. I don't know what just happened here, but I'm a little confused. Are you kidding me?
I'm kidding you.
I didn't expect that to come out of you. Your range is unbelievable. Your voice is beautiful. Why don't you just sing all day long as you talk to people like that?
I do sing a lot. I sing a lot.
I didn't even know that on the last show. Okay, so wow.
Thank you.
Wow. All right.
Another song.
Thank
Beautiful,
you.
beautiful.
Thank you. So, for 25 years, I didn't do that.
Yeah, I don't know why. I have a question about that. I mean, we're being honest here, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
We could talk a little bit about your childhood, right? So, because it helps everybody out there, right? I
Right.
mean, everybody has a past.
Mm-hmm.
Were you told you couldn't sing as a child? Did someone say that to you?
Well, I jokingly and honestly say this. This is my mother, my Jewish mother. I'm half Jewish. I always say I'm Jewish, but I'm really only half Jewish. The other half is Irish, cowboy, whatever.
Ish.
Ish. It's the ish. And my mother, when I was, I don't know, a teenager, she said to me, this was how she encouraged me. She said, God gave you a voice and it's a sin that you're not singing. That's when my mother's, how she encouraged me.
But that's okay with me because I came from a very loud, obnoxious, listen, over the top, close, no boundary Italian family. So I get it. So why didn't that that should have encouraged you? I thought you were going to say she said something negative. She didn't.
Well, it's kind of a negative way of
saying you have an amazing voice. God gave you an amazing voice. I heard. See, that's what I heard from that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, but we haven't talked a lot about my history. So,
okay.
I come from a history, like unfortunately, like many of us, of abuse, and so anyone, especially if you've been abused as a child, learns that you can't speak your voice. You can't speak your true voice. And so for me, holding everything in and not feeling confident that I could express myself, I think that was part of it and why I was so shy and so inhibited.
That makes sense then.
Yeah.
Okay.
So one of the things, again, that through all of this, for me to help others and help especially women who are I don't say victims because
Right.
we're survivors.
That's right.
We are survivors. Is to learn how to speak your true voice, your own true voice, and to be brave enough to speak your true voice. And the thing is, there are many women who are not ready. They're not able to yet. So I hope I can add to their voice until they are at that point where they can speak
Wow.
their true voice. And for me, my true voice comes through singing, right? And comedy.
I was going to say,
Right.
in comedy, I was waiting.
Okay, and the spiritual yoga that I teach is about, being true to yourself. So all of that, and the singing and the comedy have been incredibly healing for me because that I've had my voice like trapped. And when you talk about people with addictions, with eating disorders, a lot of it is because you can't express these emotions, the abuse. It's stuffed, literally
Right.
stuffed
Right.
inside. So does that answer your question?
Yes. No, it did answer my question.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. And I hope it encourages everyone out there to please use your voice. Use your voice.
So we've got this whole Me Too movement, and I was very happy to see that, but at the same time, I think I know that, and I've spoken with the few actually nice guys out there who this Me Too movement has been difficult for them because
I understand.
yeah, and my whole rationalization with it's like now it's all coming out. This person was abusive. That man did this. All the misogyny, all of this, and they farted in the wrong direction, and that was
right.
misogynistic. So, but my thing is, it's the same. It's like any type of oppressive behavior. It's like we have to tip the scales way to the other direction before we're going to be able to get them balanced again.
You said that beautifully. Because, okay, so you just made sense of something for me. Because I feel like it's being so tipped in one direction that these poor guys can't even say you look beautiful.
Right. Right.
But you just made some sense there. So, all right, I'll keep an open mind with this. Go ahead. That was beautifully said.
I just think that that's with any change, and I could start getting political here with our current system. With any change, as humans, for whatever reason, it doesn't seem like we can see things just like logically on an even playing field. It has to get really awful before change will take place, before people will like, okay, we've got to do something. So,
No, the way you said that made me feel better. Okay.
I think so. I'm not saying that that's right. I just think that that's the way we as humans, for whatever reason, we have to like have it be huge in our face. I mean, just think about when you have
addiction.
exactly.
Yes, you have to hit rock bottom,
Right.
but everybody's rock bottom is different. Yes.
Right. So I think that's
Okay.
So
do you have a little bit you could do for us?
a little bit. You know what I say when people find out I do comedy and they're like, "Oh, do something for us." And I feel like, okay, I'm like this little toddler. You're asking to recite the ABCs, or the dog. You want to show them roll over.
Listen, I'll take it any way you want. Listen.
Let's see. Okay, so it has to be suitable for the 5 to 6:30 audience. Well, I think I talked about this last time, and this is true. Everything I say is true when I do comedy. Everything is true. You're talking about what was the word we came up with? Managing our issues, right? And so for me, I've been in therapy so many decades. I should have my own, PhD doctorate in psychotherapy. I should have a pharmaceutical whatever degree, and I should, all of this stuff. And basically, I've come a long way because I've had to build my own toolkit. And I think I shared last time as well that I deal with issues of having a bipolar affective disorder as well. And so I've had to build my own toolkit, and my toolkit, and I told this to my psychiatrist, and I said, I've gotten to a place where I have my 4-legged antidepressant. That's my dog Walter, right? I self-medicate with alcohol and weed, okay? And I masturbate. And I'm just like, I'm so happy. I'm so happy. And he's such a cool psychiatrist. He's like, okay, I'm not so concerned about the weed. Do we need to talk about the alcohol?
You know, you should have told me that for this poem. I could have had a lot more fun with this poem, okay? The masturbating and the weed. Come on now. Come on.
Yeah. So, no, I think that's, you know, that's what it is. It's not that we ever completely heal.
No.
We never, and if we completely healed, then we wouldn't be human.
I don't even think that's possible.
And I'm not even sure how boring would we be.
I don't even think that's possible.
Even saints, and I believe there are a lot of saints around on earth now and in the past, were not perfect either.
Absolutely
you know,
not.
And they had huge processes and challenges and pains to have to go through. So it's not getting rid of all of that stuff. It's having your way, your toolkit, and it has to be your voice, you know, all of it to be able to manage that in a healthy way, you know, not hurting anyone, not hurting yourself. But you have to learn how to develop your own toolkit. And that's how you... That's the only way it is. And also, you know, we talk about having a spiritual life and having faith, being open to love, and being open that it's not always going to come in the form you expect.
That you think.
Right. So
Vaginas, penises, hey, whatever. See, I could be a comedian. Come on.
You are.
Right.
You're very funny. So, and I think the other thing is, in meeting you and Natalie, all of these people, we are connected.
Absolutely.
And finding each other to help. All of us have a voice, you know, and we have our unique voice. And you are providing a forum for us to have our voice amplified and to reach. You're reaching people internationally, Geri.
Listen, it's Hamilton Radio, and I want to thank you guys. Listen, the two owners are sitting over there, Ruben and Gino, because without Hamilton Radio, I wouldn't be able to do this, right? Think about what they have done. Listen, tell again, Ruben. I want to hear your voice. Tell everybody about us being voted #1 again. Say it. It's unbelievable.
It's all thanks to Geri.
No, it's not. Far from Geri. I just
#1
started.
for what?
Tell them. How many years?
Well, Gino started in '96, and we merged together in, what, 2012? In 2012, because I was doing production work, and he was doing radio. But as we merged together, the station has blossomed like tremendously. And Gino came to me like pretty much, I think like six years to actually make a decision. Yeah, because I'll be honest with you, I was telling Gino, I said, I don't think internet radio is going anywhere or anything like that, because I didn't know the whole outlook. So my mind was totally on production work and video and stuff like that. My mind was offset off of radio. But I was thinking like, well, I'm in Trenton, I'm not making anything. He's in his basement, not making anything. So I was like, well, it could have hurt.
That's right.
For us to put it together. And we started with one show. We didn't have none of this. I mean, compared to what we had in the beginning, this would be like, wow. You know, that's how we feel. You know, I know some people come in, they're like, okay, you know, we're really impressed with what we blossomed to. But we used to have like a little tiny computer microphone. And it was on a gateway machine, no mixer. And the host and the guest had to share the little microphone, the little tiny $10 mic on.
That's so cool, though.
And then we got two little, I think we got them used, $10 computer speakers. And then finally, the upgrade was a little 4-channel Behringer that we got for, I think, $150. They say, look, we could do that. And then as we blossomed, and we grew and grew. And actually, the microphone that Geri's on, they were actually given to me because they were throwing them out. So I had them redone, and
hey,
yeah, exactly. So I was very, pleased about that, and I had them since 5 years now because we take very care of them. And we went from 1 show to 3 shows to 5, and then 10 to 15 to
crazy.
22, 25 to 30, 35. And I think now we're at about 41.
Isn't this amazing?
But tell me, so what
Yes.
number
Oh.
one for
Oh,
what?
I'm sorry.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
yes, that's amazing.
I think the reason why there's many aspects of why we would be number one. I think
But number
But
one,
she doesn't
what's the
even
title?
know. She
What's
doesn't
the
know.
number one?
Tell them what we were voted. Number one, how many years in a row? For internet.
For I'm sorry, I was trying to give explanation. Basically, I believe most of all the reason why we're voting number one because we take any artist, as long as the music sounds great, and artists have been able to get contracts and.
But we're voted. She doesn't know what we're We're voted number,
Number one what?
internet radio all
Yeah.
over the world.
Yeah.
7th year in a row.
What?
She didn't know that.
That's
Oh, that part.
amazing.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You said what? And
Isn't
I'm
that-
trying to think of the reason.
That's how men and women think. See, the difference between our brains. We're saying what, meaning tell us that.
Tell me the
I thought I was
title
telling
of
you
number
what.
one what? Number
it
one.
7
Yeah,
years in a
okay.
row.
Oh, yeah,
Number
radio.
one
No,
internet
seven-
radio
yeah.
station
That
in the
is
world, guys.
amazing.
And we have
Got that
like
many
47
times.
shows now.
Yeah.
How
That
cool
is
is that?
really
I have 2 a
amazing.
week.
Wow.
Woo!
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, she got 2
It's
weeks.
great.
Yeah.
So I love you guys. If it wasn't
Yes.
for them and doing all this, we wouldn't have these outlets.
I have to add to that, guys, that we were number one with the Nashville Music Awards, and we're not in Nashville as well, and Asbury Park Music Awards about 2 years in a row.
That's
And
so
that's
cool.
a big thing for us. Plus, we were voted number one on the FM Radio Music Guide as the best radio station, beating 101.5 and many other FM radio
that?
stations here in New Jersey.
Wow.
So they're big accolades that we take seriously.
Thank
You
you.
know, and I
And-
have more shows coming. I'm putting them in the works right now. I have a lady that's a New York actor. She's a SAG actress. She's also a model. She's an inspirational coach, and her name is Lindsay Sherwin, and she's going to be doing a show very soon. And I've got many, many others that are just waiting to do shows here. So it's only going to get better. It's going to get bigger for us, but it's going to get better.
It's
well,
beautiful.
Mazel tov.
So it's because of
Mazel tov.
Hamilton
Major
Radio.
Mazel. That's
Yep.
awesome. That is
So-
really
Yeah.
impressive.
I hope I answered the question in one way.
Yes.
Jerry actually answered the question,
so
but
good.
you
No,
gave
but
a lot
your
of
info- your
interesting
info was
background
awesome.
information.
Yes.
Yes, it's very
So
interesting.
I'm glad you shared all that because now everybody could hear that. That's
Yeah,
pretty
everybody
cool.
can hear
I
it.
didn't even know some of that.
Yeah.
Okay. No, thank you. So,
And it just shows that starting small, you never know. You know, you can have a vision of where you're headed, but you never know how big you can
That's right.
make something.
that's right.
And so it's very exciting to be part. Thank you for having me on the
No,
show.
Thank you for coming again.
So, how did this come up? How you were asking me for when Geri does. I don't know if you explain how you get your material for the poems.
I
Have you-
stalk people.
So she asks you for 6 facts.
6 to 12 facts, okay, based on if I have never met you, what you're going to be talking about. You know, so I had a little bit from you from the past one.
Right.
So I said, give me 6 more.
Okay, all right. So there's this portion. Can I look at
Yeah,
it?
sure.
Yeah, I have to explain this one
Okay, no.
portion. Okay.
The rabbis?
Yes. So I live a very interesting life, and I live in a very interesting neighborhood called Mount Airy in Philadelphia, and it's a very artistic community, bohemian. It's has 3 synagogues within very close proximity, and there's a lot of very Jewish progressive people. And I started doing some work with 2 female rabbis. And so I have to, what did she write here? Geri wrote, have you heard the joke about the female Jew who walks into a studio with not 1 rabbi, but 2? So this comes from, I started working with these 2 amazing rabbis, Rabbi Sarah August and Rabbi Maklabina, whom I know from my synagogue, Panay Or in Mount Airy. They do something called Authentic Movement. And we get together every Friday for an hour and a half. And there is a group of us. It just happens that we're all Jewish. All women. And we get together in this group for an hour and a half, and we divide into witnesses and movers. And essentially what we do, no music, close our eyes and just move spontaneously, listening to our bodies, just having our bodies guide us in these movements. And it's very, very powerful. And then what we do, we have about 15 minutes at the end where we sit and we either draw or write about our experience, and we share our experiences, and we share what we see as we witness. We share what has occurred for us as we were moving, and those are my two rabbis that I walk into a dance studio with. So that's where that came from.
I thought that was great, though. I had to put it in there.
And it's something that I actually bring into my classes, because in dealing with movement, and I actually start my yoga classes with spontaneous movement, so that women just move.
Tell us what that means exactly.
So your typical yoga class that you would come into always starts with a seated meditation.
Okay.
So you're still. And one of the other issues that I've dealt with over the years is chronic pain. And for me to sit still, and I love it when the teachers would say a comfortable cross-legged position, because for me, comfortable cross-legged was an oxymoron, you know, sitting in a So I don't do that. I have my students move first. So first of all, most of us have been sitting all day anyway. You sit in the car going to class. You've been sitting in an office all day. So rather than just sitting and getting still, I have everyone, and I play music. We move. You just move your body however you want to move it, so you can just get the juices flowing. Then we'll sit for a guided meditation.
No, that's really a good idea.
Yeah. So that's something that's different about my classes. And I use a lot of props. Then we're going back to the yoga, I guess. I use a lot of props. I use chairs. I use blocks. I use blankets. We use the wall. And often we are not doing what's called the classic posture. We're doing a modified version of it, either for people who have, again, limited mobility or size. You can be very flexible, but if you have a lot of flesh, it takes a difference to move your arms in a certain way. So there are modifications for that as well. And I introduce basic tenets of yoga, making it palatable for people who aren't necessarily like into the yogic thing, but there's definitely a very strong spiritual component to what I'm doing. And so this authentic movement that I've been doing recently, for me personally, is I'm at this place in my life where I've been dealing with chronic pain for decades, and I'm looking at movement often as a pain management tool or pain relief.
And does it help?
Sometimes.
Okay.
Most of the time. I mean, obviously, I'm still doing it, so I'm finding that it benefits on a certain level. And my goal for me is to be able to get through the pain so that movement can be just for enjoyment for me.
Okay.
And so that's, you know, another process, and also the joy of movement. And to me, movement is key. Movement is what has helped me with my mental health. It's helped me with all aspects of my life, because if you think about it, everything in life is about movement. Our breath moves. Our thoughts move. Our bodies move. And if you're stuck, you're not moving, right? So it's all about movement.
No, you're right about that.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a question for you.
Good.
Okay, because I know there's listeners out there thinking, but how did you get to this place? How did you get to this stage? Your abuse, are you able to talk about that at all?
I can talk about some of it.
Yes. Okay.
And I'm mad that I can't talk about all of it.
That's okay. Whatever you're comfortable with talking about.
I have no problem talking about it individually to people, but my main issue is I have family members that are in blame the victim mode, because when I outed a family member for the abuse, they were very angry with me and blamed me.
It was sexual abuse?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
And because I have a history, a mental health history, in their minds, it was I was making it up, and it was because I was mentally ill. And I wanted to say, well, why do you think I have all these mental health issues? You know, where do you think it came from? And I mean, for me, telling my family was like, hey, this is why I've struggled so many years. And for many of them, it was just, I guess it's just too hard. They don't want to accept that this family member, whom we all love, did this. And so I can't say which family member publicly.
That's okay.
I also had experiences in my early adulthood of violence and sexual abuse as well. So, you know, it carried through up until, you know, I got to the point where I was like, no, I'm not going to take this anymore.
That's the point where I want you to share. What changed? What changed where you were able to say, no, I'm not going to take this anymore?
You know, I think about saying no to the physical abuse in many ways is easier than not saying no to emotional abuse. And I realized that even though I pick different partners who weren't being physically abusive, I was still picking partners who were emotionally abusive to me. And what finally happened that I was like, no, I think it's really getting to the point in my life where, again, as I was approaching 50, I mean, it's not been that long that it was like, no, this is, I'm not living the rest of my life this way anymore. I'm just not.
But there still had to be something, a light bulb that went off. What do you think that was?
Well, I lost my job. That was something. I had a full-time job, and it was that one day of panic of, oh my God, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And then the next day it was, I'm free. And that's when my life changed. That's when I just, and it's faith. I mean, sometimes people say this and it sounds like, so trite, but it was like, it was really faith. It was okay. I don't want to live this way anymore. Now I have the freedom to not live this way anymore. And I am just going to trust, if I put it out there to the universe, that things are going to change. And then I'm going to start living a fuller life, the life I want to live.
You put faith in, you had to.
Yeah. And I have had instances where I've either gotten seriously ill and for no apparent reason, something happened that got me out of that illness. And so I've had like lots of deposits of examples that faith was in my life. And I've had some amazing, I call them my angels. I've had people in my life who have supported me. So it was like there was a lot of deposits going on in my life to kind of lead me to, okay, I have a choice. You do have a choice. And you talk about this in your book.
That's right.
Where's your book? Here it is.
There it is. I'm not an
addict.
addict.
If you haven't read it, you should read it. Even if you're not an addict, you should read it.
Right.
This is where you are very different from like 12-step programs, right?
That's right.
There's no powerlessness.
Absolutely none.
It's your choice.
That's right.
You always, and my mother would say this to me, even with all of her amazing dysfunction. She said, you always have a choice. You always have a choice. And it's the choice to stay stuck in fear and misery, or it's the choice to try to embrace your life as fully, as healthfully, with as much love and loving kindness. That's chesed in Hebrew. It's your choice. Doesn't mean it's easy.
It's not easy.
But when you open yourself, that's when you start connecting with people who are going to support you, like you, and you, and so many people. In the last 10, 15 years, I just have met the most amazing people. But it's also because I've been more open. Finally, just being open, and the flow is unbelievable. What keeps coming to me, all of these, so much gratitude I have for the blessings in my life. And the other thing is to count, when you count your blessings, don't look at the big stuff.
There you go.
Look at the little things.
There you go.
Look at that if you have a pet, when that pet looks at you and looks you in the face, you know, or you're walking through the woods, a person you love, you know, these are the things, these are the blessings, these are the huge blessings. And those are the things that are important.
So, you know, what she just said is amazing, because everyone out there, everybody has a story, guys, and some are worse than others, okay? But there still has to be some blessings in everyone's lives. And you could either look at, you know, I'm going to use, I don't even like saying this, but the glass half full, or, you know, half empty, or whatever, however you want to put it. But I have this knack for turning almost anything into something positive. Not everything, I mean, you know, because I'm human. But for the most part, I live my life like that. So even if you can find one thing today that can make you smile or say thank you, this is a blessing in my life, that will help you. And then tomorrow, find 2 things, right, Melanie?
Mm-hmm.
And then the next day, maybe 3 things. And they could be really tiny little things. But if you put faith in something, you have to. My faith is in God, but you have to put faith in something, because if I had to go through life thinking I was it, and I have to rely on me for everything, I don't think I would even want to live like that. Right?
Right, absolutely. And you also brought to mind something that I find so important to do for others. You never know the impact you've had on another person's life unless they tell you. And I'm talking about positive stuff. I'm not talking about negative stuff. You never know that smile you gave to that stranger, how that could have changed their entire day. Right. Unless they told you. So what I try to do, if somebody has done something, even it seems like small, I always tell them, do you know that when you told me that, it caused me to research something and I got a job? You know, it's like you have to tell people. You have to tell people about these little blessings and what they do for you.
You're right.
And so I think that's very important.
You know?
Community is important, and there have been many times in my life where I have felt really isolated, and I think, and you've talked about this too, that, you know, let's go back to, like, if you are experiencing abuse or you're isolated, there are places you can go and reach out for help, and you talk about that all of the time. It's like you don't have to be isolated, but building community takes time too. But there also, it has to be faith, you know?
That's right.
You know, as much as I call Facebook the devil, and
I
there are
love
aspects
right, but I love Facebook.
But it's social media,
yep.
There are aspects of social media that can really be very
That's right.
helpful. And so, like, even if you're feeling isolated, you can connect with somebody on social media somehow.
It's what you choose to use Facebook for in social media. I don't put any crap out there. Everything on my pages are about health, positive, my funny stuff about Elvis, God, you know, nutrition. I don't put any of my woe is me on Facebook, you know? So if you use it for good, you're going to get good back. If you, you know, positive, man, that's the thing.
Well, there's so many, like, one of the things that has helped me, like you say, you're surprised, but I was very, very shy.
Yeah, I'm very surprised.
And so for me, one of the things that happened when I lost my job was I was just working. I didn't have a social life. All I was doing was working. So now all of a sudden I have no job, and I'm thinking my social life really sucks. But now I'm not working. I have no money to go anywhere. So what I did, and I can't sing the praises more, is I went on Meetup. Do you know meetup.com?
I don't know it,
but you can find any subject, anything that you're interested in. There's probably a meetup of people that have a similar interest. And that's really how I got back into my music, was going to an open mic, a meetup open mic.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And there was a whole, like, free in Philly meetups, all of these interesting, like, cultural events, just free events in Philly. And so I met people that way, and it was, so there are ways, even if you're feeling isolated, there are ways to find other people that might have your common interest. Maybe something you're really into grasshoppers. I'm sure there's a meetup there for people who like grasshoppers. You know, it's
still
just
choices. You have to make a choice to not want to stay isolated.
Right. Yeah. So I think that's really important. Yeah.
Wow. So I don't know, you just surprised me tonight with a few things, you know? I didn't know, number one, that you were that shy. I knew you were a little shy because you mentioned it, but not that shy. I didn't know you just suppressed your singing abilities. I mean, that's crazy to me. And look how you sing. I'm
Thank
still
you.
in shock about that. But anyway, all right. So what else do you want to talk about?
What else do we want to talk about? So let me talk a little bit more about working while playing.
Okay.
As the director of community outreach and really wanting to encourage musicians, please go to, they've got a website, workingwhileplaying.org. We have a Facebook page, Working While Playing, and a designated page just for the open mic. It's Working While Playing's monthly open mic. I have just initiated a collaboration with the Philadelphia Folk Song Society. So we're going to do, with them, starting in April, we're going to be doing a monthly open mic as well. And they have a location in Roxborough. I'm very excited about that.
When you keep saying open mic, so to me, I only think of that as comedy. But are you
Open
singing
mic is,
also? It could be
yeah,
singing?
open
Okay.
mics are often just music,
Okay,
actually.
okay.
And so
Not around Hamilton Radio.
no. Yeah, so well, in Philly, open mics
Oh,
are
that's cool.
usually music, actually. So
Okay.
when I proposed to Working While Playing, I want to do an open mic, I specified because of my comedy, I didn't want it to just be music, even though most of the members are musicians. So, yeah, this open mic is Working While Playing is music, comedy, spoken word poetry. I believe probably what's going to happen with the Philadelphia Folk Song Society that it will just be music, because that's their membership base and what they're into. So we have 2 studios. Working While Playing has a studio in Germantown. It's in a loft. So this is rehearsal and performance space. And we have another location in West Philly. That's where a recording studio is. And we were lucky enough that someone saw the work that we did and donated enough money for us to open the second studio in West Philly.
Wow.
We have, it's 100% volunteer run, which is amazing what we get done just on a volunteer basis. Our engineers, if you go in to record, it's not just a matter of going into the studio, but you get an engineer. And it can work out to be, depending on your membership, about $10 an hour for recording. Now, where can you find that? That's pretty amazing.
That is amazing. Wow.
So I encourage people, if you're a musician in the Philadelphia area, to look into that. So I talked about our little gigcito, little gig on pre-Valentine. That's on February 10th. That's also listed on Facebook if you pull that up. So I don't know. Should I put stuff on your page?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
But I want to ask you about something about this first. So
Yeah.
you guys are going to be singing together?
Yes.
The guy over there is shaking his head. No, we don't sing. So, all right. So you guys are going to be singing together.
Yes.
So is it going to be recorded? Are you going to be able to post it when it's all done? I mean, that would be pretty cool. Even get somebody to do it with a phone.
Well, we can record it, but my experience is that I don't know about with Facebook, but YouTube, if it's a cover, they won't.
No, I mean just when you two sing.
Yeah.
You can get a friend of yours to on
Oh,
their
yeah,
phone.
yeah.
That's what I want to see, and then we'll put it on my wall. I would love to
Can we
see
do
it.
that if it's cover? I mean, I don't know about the copyright
Yes,
stuff.
if it's just you
Okay.
two singing and you guys are taping, just you two, you can.
Yeah, I have an old microphone stand and a $1 selfie stick that I tied together. So I'm
That is
able
so
to do
funny.
video
Yeah,
that
yeah,
way with
all
a
right.
phone. Okay, we'll do that for you.
All right, thanks.
You don't have to be teeny to be a yogini classes are Thursday evenings in Mount Airy at Springboard Studio, 7 to 8 o'clock. And of course, I'll put that on your page
Yep.
as well. What else is going on? I do teach privately in my home. I have a little studio space in my home. I also do healing work for people of size. I have a custom built massage table that is wider and it supports more weight. I think it supports up to 800 pounds, and it is designed. This is the part I love.
Right.
It has breast recesses. So for women with
every table out there, I get massages once a month. Okay, I've been because I was in the beauty business my whole life, so I've been getting massages since I was probably 17, and they don't have them anywhere. Hello, that's the worst part.
Yeah. So what's nice?
Where'd you get that table?
So that was like, I had that designed several years ago because that was another issue for me, being larger. You get on these little tables and your arms aren't comfortable.
But the boob thing,
it's great. It's wonderful because you can pull out like these pieces and just line yourself up, and then your spine is.
Men had to make massage tables. They had to design them.
Right. So, but they make them now also for like pregnant women. You know, they'll make it there's space for the belly to get them on.
Awesome.
So I do combination of Reiki and intuitive healing. Starting probably in March as an adjunct to my You Don't Have to Be Teeny to Be a Yogini classes, I am in partnership with a local bookstore called Blue Marble Bookstore. It's a feminist bookstore. We're going to have a curvy girl. I don't know exactly the title yet, but it's going to be a curvy girl book club. So we're going to be reading books about empowering, you know, with
That's awesome. I love that.
So that's going to be once a month after class. And I've got my group page. I have workshops from time to time dealing with approaching health from within. I think I spoke about that last time. And yeah, if you're interested,
about that a little bit because we have different viewers.
Okay, approaching health from within for women of size. This is my whole process that I've gone through myself, but it is looking at not the numbers on the scale and not the calories in what you're eating, but measuring your health from how you feel from within. We talk about how are you feeling emotionally, how are you feeling physically. Learning to eat in a healthy way for you. And also really learning what society has done to women and their whole belief system about their body. And also, which that part I think is starting maybe a little bit to get better, but what has not caught up is our medical profession. Because I recently experienced, I went in for a sore throat.
They wanted to weigh you.
I had to get weighed. Okay.
I say no. They can't make you.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of women don't realize. You can say no.
You can, first of all, you can say no to anything that you are uncomfortable with. Okay? You go in for a sore throat, why do they have to weigh you? Okay? Even when I was 130 pounds, I said no. Because I didn't care. You're not going to weigh me. What do you need to know how much I weigh for?
Right. But so many of us are intimidated by the medical profession, you know, put them on these pedestals.
Sure.
And of course,
yes,
you of all people.
I got to be nice because we're not talking about that tonight.
So my experience, I guess a little over a year ago, I developed high blood pressure. Never had high blood pressure. Even as heavy, you know, at my heaviest, never had high blood pressure. And so I developed high blood pressure and I went in very defensive. I'm like, it's not my weight. My father was thin. My grandmother was thin. They all had high blood pressure.
Okay.
I know it's genetic.
Okay.
So I'm on high blood pressure medication. And I decided, well, I do need to maybe be a little bit more aware and get a little more cardiovascular work done, be a little more mindful of my eating, you know, not dieting. Because of the high blood pressure, it did scare me. So I go back in, and it was probably for the sore throat. And the nurse says to me, you know, it's going to take a while with the throat. This thing's going around. But the good news is that you lost some weight. Losing weight is always a good thing, isn't it? And I was just I was blown away. I wasn't prepared. And I left. I was so angry.
React.
I was, because I haven't dealt with this in a while.
Okay.
You know, in the past, I was like ready for this. And I was like, oh my God, how irresponsible is that for a medical person to say? And this is where people don't realize. They don't realize. What he's saying to me is, you're a fat person. You lost weight. It's always a good thing. Did he ask me, have you started smoking again? Why did you lose the weight? You know, are you starving yourself? Are you sick? You know, it's like, but just because a fat person loses weight, that's a good thing. So that medically is so irresponsible, but it's not just irresponsible for fat women, that's irresponsible for thin women. Because take a woman, I know this woman, she's thin, young, looks fine. This woman sits on the couch and smokes cigarettes.
Yep.
You know,
Yes.
but because of her weight,
It's okay.
it's not even questioned.
It's not questioned. You're right.
So there's this huge need that the medical profession needs to look at this differently. When I go in, I've got a diagnosis code of obesity. It's always on there. Because they have to do it for insurance reasons. That's what they tell me. And you know why? You know why, don't you? Didn't you tell me? You were the one that told me this. They need a certain percentage. They actually get money.
Absolutely.
Can you explain that?
So, okay. Well, yes. Go ahead, Ruben.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you, you know, I feel the same way because, you know, I was offended by my doctor. You know?
Is this a
took-
joke?
Well, in the way
I
it's
can
for
see-
real, actually.
Yeah, let's do this.
It is kind of funny. Well, I went to go get my checkup. The doctor asked me, when was your last checkup? I said, maybe 1999. Right? And this is 2014, right? He goes, wow, it's been that long since you had a checkup? I said, I haven't been sick. You know, I said,
Right.
I felt fine. You know, I had a dental checkup, and he goes, so what do you eat? I said, I eat vegetables and a little pasta, you know.
He's vegan.
And then
as
he
well.
goes, you do any meat? I said, no. He goes, oh,
Yeah.
I'm a little concerned.
Yeah. Okay.
And he goes, and I goes, I said, what do you mean you're concerned? Oh, your potassium, your protein level. And I said, but I do get protein. And the doctor goes, from where? And I said, you're the doctor. You should know if I don't eat meat. And he goes, no, I don't know. I go, well, I
Broccoli.
get it from broccoli, kale, spinach, nuts. You know, even certain fruits have like little proteins, like apples. They don't have as much protein as
Right,
but they still have them. And he goes, well, Ruben, I'm a little worried, so I'm going to go get the testing done, you know, be back in about a half hour just to check your protein levels and stuff like that. He comes back. Well, Ruben, one thing I could say is that your LDL's a little high, but the cure for that is just taking a 25-minute walk a day. But, you know, occasionally you can have a steak or two from time to time, you know? And I go, yeah, doc. And his stomach's like right here. And I go,
Yeah.
yeah, doc, I come just like you, huh? And he goes, well, I'll be back. Waited 20 minutes. He never showed back up
That's
to
right.
see me. But the nurse's aide came
That's
in.
right.
And she brought like this tray of needles.
Yeah. Sure.
And I was like, whoa. I was like, what is all that there? And she goes, oh, it's the H1N. And I said, you ain't putting none of that in me. And she goes, well, at least can you take the tetanus shot at least? And I was like, no. I don't need it.
No
need it.
one, but no one
Yeah.
needs it.
Yeah. I don't need the tetanus shot or anything like that. I said if I get cut by now, just say I got my iron.
You know
Well,
what?
you know, and that speaks to also how backwards and so far behind the medical profession is when it comes to nutrition and the knowledge of nutrition.
Right.
They get like 30 hours. That's all they get.
Because I just went to the nurse, right? She goes, well, what if you get cut on a metal object? But I said, I take zinc. That's a metal, but it's a healthy metal that your body uses for not antidepressant.
They don't want to hear it though.
Histamine,
They don't want to hear
you
it.
know, zinc. Because what happens with you, what are some nickels made out of? Zinc. And what's in most of your vegetables you eat? Zinc. right? And it's a healthy thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like I'm eating lead.
They don't want to hear it.
And then I said, well, what? She goes, well, will you get cut on a pipe? What, a copper pipe? Oh, that's healthy too. I said, we can go on and on. And she goes, well, what if you get cut on something lead? I said, only way I'm going to get cut something on lead if I open up the vest at the dentist's office, that little thing they put on your thing to make x-rays. And, you know, other than that, that's covered.
You know,
and I don't work it with uranium or anything like that, so the chances of me getting cut by lead are very slim chances to none.
You know,
and she went all around. And she goes, well, what about barium? I said that's only used by in hospitals, and I'm not a surgeon or X-ray technician. I said, whatever you what, I'm not gonna be around. The only metals I'm around is aluminum. And she goes, well, what if you get cut by aluminum pipe poison? I said, doubtful you're going to get poisoned by aluminum. You know, it's like, but I tell you what, if I get cut by metal and I really feel sick, I'll come and get that tetanus shot.
But they're terrible.
Yeah.
They don't even want to hear it, though.
No.
But they only get like 30, I think it's between 30 and 40 hours of nutrition in all of their medical school. I have doctors in my family. You know that. Nurses in my family. It's terrible.
Yeah, it's terrible.
So I want you to explain why it's important that they put down on my diagnosis code obesity.
Yeah.
We better not, and I'll tell you why.
No.
I don't want this show taken off.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
The last show I did exposing a lot of things, and I don't want that to happen with your show.
Fine. Okay.
I'm going to do another show exposing the truth.
Okay.
But not with this show.
Fine.
I'm going to say this indirectly on the thing about obesity.
Go ahead.
Okay. First of all, the simplest thing to stay away from obesity is change your diet. Less sugars.
That's it.
Less animal fats in your diet, you know, next to none. And other than that, your obesity will go away. What causes obesity is that, you know, if you're working at 9 to 5 job, what do? Coffee, bagel with cream cheese to the office. You eat late.
No movement.
No movement. And then you're eating 3 or 4 times a day. Technically, I mean, honestly, I for the past 7 years now, I've been down to 1 meal a day. I eat a lot, but I last all day. And also, you really don't need breakfast in the morning. Do you actually know what the terminology means for breakfast?
Yeah, breaking the fast.
Right, breaking the fast. Because you don't really need to eat anything. When the most I'll have when I wake up in the morning is probably a glass of water or a glass of apple juice, orange juice when I wake up in the morning. That's all I'll have. And Gina will tell you, I'll be like, Gina will be like, sometimes I'll get up late, like 10, 11, sometimes 12. But I'll tell Gina, it's like, yeah, I've been up since like 11, 12 o'clock, but it's 9 o'clock at night. I didn't eat anything yet, you know. So I'll have like 1 meal, but from 9 to midnight, it gives my food time to digest and everything else like that. So I try to eat before 9 o'clock.
But even obesity. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, see, I will take you to task on what you just said.
Yeah.
But let me say something, and then you talk, because I know what you're going to say, and I want you to. But obesity. So today, what they consider obese is really not obese. All right? My brother was obese. My brother was over 600 pounds. That's really dangerous. So we are so happy, you know, that he lost a lot of the weight, because that is obesity, and that can kill you. My grandmother, she died at 100 years old, 12 years ago. My grandmother had to be, I don't know, size is great, but my grandmother had to be a size 20 probably. You know, they were short and big and round and had, you know, their little Italian dresses and, you know, so, and she lived to 100 years old. So the weight is not what's going to kill you. It's, well, I shouldn't say that. I'm not talking about that kind of way. I mean, my brother's weight could have killed him, and thank God he was healthy. So, you know, I don't want to sit here and say, no, you could become 600 pounds. That is not what I'm saying. So, but obesity, the term obesity, now you speak.
Right. So the problem is, again, what I say is this whole societal concept of what the body size is supposed to be. That's the problem. And what medically is considered obese now is not what we might even think of as obese. And as far as like, there is not a simple solution, because it's so diverse well, I talk about everybody has a different fat history. It could be there's emotional component, there could be a physical component, there could be a movement component, there could be a nutrition component. But when you're getting into talking about obesity being the crisis, you're blaming the victim. And what you're not dealing with is what obesity is just a symptom of,
That's right.
you know, a lot of different things. And so what you're doing is like, you know, sometimes I make racial comparisons to like racial oppression and fat oppression is that as long as you're attacking the external, you're not looking at what is happening internally, and you're not looking at, you know, why is it that for 30 years of my life, the very first thing I thought of when I woke up every morning is, what am I going to eat today and how much weight can I lose? How much of my life did I lose quality-wise? Because to me, it was more important what I look like than what I was doing, that who I was. That was the most important thing. And there's so many women and girls that go through that. That's the problem.
That is the problem.
And until we can, you know, it's just like, you know, judging somebody by the color of their skin.
It's
you
insane.
know, we can't. We've got to. We just have to get away from all of that. And as far as healthy eating, we've talked about this. You're much healthier eating that damn cookie than being anxious over it, because what's going on chemically in the brain
No,
and
you're
all
right
of
about
this.
that. You're right
Yeah.
about that.
Weight races.
Yeah, that's it. That's
I love it. You
So
know?
yeah, okay.
Because I want to talk a little bit about food with the French. We have a few minutes, a few extra minutes. You know, I'm a nutritional health coach, if everybody out there doesn't know that. And what I've learned over the last year was probably one of the most important things for me, that our food plate should not be defined by the food on it. Our food plate, because that's what I was taught in every certification I've ever gotten all over the world. I was always taught that our food plate is our food. Until IIN, okay, Institute for Integrative Nutrition, I've just been certified by them, and their food plate doesn't even have food on it. It's your overall happiness, your job, your finances, your sex life, you know. So everything about that. So the French, they eat fat food. They fatty food, right? They love their cheeses, their wines. I mean, think about that, their sauces. And do you know that they are one of the healthiest, okay, in the world, the French? But they eat all that because they eat everything in moderation, but they eat everything in parties and community.
They enjoy
and
the
they enjoy
celebratory that I was talking
and
about. Yeah,
slowly, and you know,
right. Or I should
with their
add that to
friends.
my
Yes.
satiating slowly.
you know, they're always with other people, and it's not about the food, it's about the company, and that's what it's about. So you're right about the cookie. If it's going to make you that crazy, I would even say eat the cookie. You know. So we're coming to the end of the show. How would you like to close it? What else do you want to say?
Okay, I'll close it this way. This is part of a set I'm actually working on.
Oh,
I haven't what's the word? It's not perfect yet. So
Perfected it.
I have not perfected it yet, and I teach yoga, obviously, and since I do comedy, I like a lot of my comedy is honest, right? So I did this little set where I talk about what the yoga instructor really thinks about when she's teaching the yoga class.
Okay, guys, you have to hear this. This is going to be great. All right, go ahead.
So you start out and you think yoga instructors are just so calm and relaxed and they have it all together. But I just have to tell you what yoga instructors really are thinking about. So first thing, you're coming into the class, you're seeing people come in and you're thinking, damn it, God, I'm so hungry. I should have eaten something before I started. Oh, French fries. God, French fries sound so good. And the person walks in and you're thinking, what was she thinking when she put those leggings together with the top? And then, class, how are you this evening? Let's have a meditation. Let's breathe, breathe, breathe. And we're going to Om in 3 times. You ready? Om. Oh, damn, he said he was going to call. He never called me. How come he didn't call me? Second of, I can't believe he said he was going to call and he hasn't called me. And oh, damn, did I ohm in twice or was that 3 ohms? I can't remember. So I'm going through the class and we're going through and, God, I really would rather be on the sofa right now, binge watching television. It's like, I got to be at this class. I'm so hungry. Da, da, da. Going through the class. Breathe this way. Bend that way. Oy vey, my back is hurting me. Oy, I'd rather be home. By the end of the class, I'm telling everyone to lie down in Shavasana. Yeah, sure, you guys get to lie down and relax. And at the very end, we're ohming in again. We ohm out. And I tell the class, and I'm thinking to myself, God, I feel so much better. I'm so glad I came to teach class tonight. I love doing this. And I say to everyone, namaste. And that means I bow to you. I see the light in you that's the same in me. And I wish you good health, love, light, love, and laughter. Namaste.
Melanie, that's beautiful.
Still got to work on it a little bit.
That's beautiful. So I want to say thank you to you.
Thank you to you.
Because the show was very enlightening and awesome, and I love your voice, and thanks for singing to me and your little bits there. I just love it. So we'll have you back again.
I would love to.
This is great.
I'd love to.
I want to say thank you to everybody out there. You can always get in touch with us on Facebook. You can get in touch with me. If anybody out there feels like they need help with anything, there is help out there. Okay? You are not powerless. You are not hopeless. You have to make a choice. So today, more so than any other era, back then when my grandmother was young, my parents were young, they didn't have what we have today, the resources we have today. So you are not powerless, okay? Reach out to me on Facebook. We can get you help for whatever situation you are in right now that's making you unhappy. I want to give a shout out to John from the round table who just walked in. Sweetheart, do you want to come over and say hi so we could say happy birthday to you? Come here, baby. Give me a hug. All right. It's this young guy's birthday. Tell everybody how old you are.
I'm 23.
Happy birthday, sweetheart. I love you. This guy's awesome. Okay, the round table. Tell everybody about your show, when it's on.
Round Table, it's on tonight, 8:30 to 9:30 p.m. I have food. That's the only reason why Geri likes my show, so tune in.
Happy birthday, baby.
Thank you.
All right, I want to say thank you to everybody. Thank you to Hamilton Radio. Ruben, you're never here, and I'm so happy you are. Thank you. All right. Ciao, everybody.
Bye.